Alright guys, so this right here is going to be my review slash discussion of Tokyo Ghoul chapter 108, which was entitled Eternity. This was a very Urei-eccentric chapter where we got like a little bit of Kaneki here and there, but this is definitely delving into a little bit of Urei and possibly some foreshadowing about some events that we're going to be getting. I took some notes on this episode and actually went back to previous Tokyo Ghoul chapters, like even some that like chapter 1 and 2, where I was able to actually like make some comparisons for this. So I really wanted to dive into this. I have the chapter up on my laptop right here. So with my notes and all this, let's just dive into this because I really want to talk about like especially this beginning part right here, because for this beginning panel on page 1, we have Urei with Dr. Shiba, and they're going over the RC levels of, you know, the newest members of the Q squad. This is after they fought Amon and the Kakaja state that he was in. So this takes somewhere in between that and the time skip. So it's somewhere within there. But as it states, you know, Higemaru has an RC level of 701. Aura has a 980 RC level count. Zhao has 892. And Yonebayashi has 852. So as Dr. Shiba says, this is all stable levels. And I wrote those all down right here. And as it goes on, we actually learn that Urei is at 1,911, which is actually really high, and it's like what Dr. Shiva says, he's on the verge of basically becoming a ghoul. And as the chapter goes on, we see that he actually can't eat normal foods, so he's already within that transition to where if he goes too far, he's on that point of no return and won't be able to come back. And also, as the chapter suggests, and it's actually kind of teasing us with it too, is that Mitsuki's RC levels, we don't know what they are yet. So they're either going to be very high or very low, but my guess is with the way that Mitsuki has been, especially after the Rue Island arc and with Torso, I wouldn't be surprised if Mitsuki was cannibalizing either humans or ghouls, and Mitsuki's RC level has either been, you know, skyrocketing due to that. So the RC levels get mentioned in this chapter, and I actually wanted to go back and see from the beginning of Tokyo Ghoul what their RC levels were in the beginning, getting that original Q Squad rankings. And so I actually found these on the wiki, but you can also find this in chapter 2 of Tokyo Ghoul. So when we go all the way back, Mitsuki had an RC level of 655, and this was the lowest out of all the Qs at that time. And this is even lower than Higemaru's in this chapter, because, you know, Mitsuki was still, she wasn't really getting used to the surgery, and her Kakugan was activated all the time, so she wasn't able to control it, and so that's why hers was so low. And she was basically, Mitsuki was a Kaneki 2.0 in the sense in the beginning, so that was Mitsuki's, and then Urei was actually at 902. His was actually the second highest out of everyone, and like as we can tell from this chapter, he's almost doubled his RC count since the beginning of Tokyo Ghoul. And as we've seen throughout Tokyo Ghoul, Urei has actually been working out a lot, and he's been releasing the frames on his Quinke, on his Kagane, that, you know, since he has that implanted in him. And as the doctor says in this chapter, if he goes beyond the third frame, he's on that point of no return to where he officially becomes a ghoul, but in this sense would become a half ghoul. So he was at 902. Psycho was at 850, so she actually only went up 2 RC level points, so she actually has made no ground whatsoever, which I thought was pretty funny, just because her Kagane packs a punch, and just with how huge it is and like the amount of force it takes just to explode out, and just like the original shockwave of it and just how big it is, it's amazing that she still has the lowest, one of the lowest RC levels within the group. So that's very interesting to see. And then, of course, Shirazu, our golden boy here, he was actually the highest out of the original Q members with 920. So being able to look at it right here with the new Quink squad, excluding Urei, Aura actually has the highest with 980. So he was even higher than Shirazu was back in the beginning of Tokyo Ghoul. And I even actually took the time, like within that same chapter, in chapter 2, they mentioned Heisei, you know, slash Kaneki's, and his was 2,753. So he was double Urei as Urei is right now, but you also got to remember, like, even though Heisei is technically a half ghoul, he was drugged up on RC suppressants. So who even knows how much higher it's gotten since that? I mean, I bet that information is out there, but I really want to know what Kaneki's RC level count is currently. So that's just my little research that I did with the, going into the RC levels, because I thought that was very interesting just to have that look back and just to see where they've been this whole time. And I also just made a note, because I don't know why I didn't realize this. I'm not sure if this is actually a connection, but that Noro Quinque that Urei has is named Ginkui, and it's actually very similar to Shirazu's first name, Ginshi. So actually, like, I made that connection, and it kind of hit on me. It's like, what if he did name the Quinque after Shirazu? Because it seems very similar with the names, and it's probably why he named it that way. And if that is the case, I feel stupid for not realizing that earlier. But that's what I love about this research that I was able to do. That just epiphany hit me, and I was able to be like, wow, that's really heartfelt, and it shows how much Urei's character has grown overall throughout this whole series, and I really enjoyed that. So my question to all you guys is, with this first part, with Urei eating the sandwiches, and as we move on to basically, going on to page 3 and then going on to page 4, is Urei going to go past the third frame of his Quinque? And is he actually going to make that transformation into becoming a full-on ghoul? So that's going to be my question for you guys, because that seems to be where it's leading, and that's where the foreshadowing kind of leads in this chapter. And of course, as the chapter goes on, we get that tease with Mitsuki. As soon as they're about to say the RC level, he slices off that clown's head, and these clowns do not put up a fight. No matter every panel we've seen these clowns in, they have not been putting up a fight. So that's very interesting to see. And of course, Mitsuki is using her Kagane as knives, which is just amazing to see, and how much Mitsuki has grown throughout this series. Because actually going back and reading it, it was very nostalgic and kind of heartfelt just to see how innocent Mitsuki was in the beginning of Re, and to where Mitsuki is now. Because even the members of Juzo's squad are starting to notice the change of Mitsuki, and they're realizing that the mission that they had on Rue Island definitely changed Mitsuki, but they don't know if that was a good change or a bad change, just the fact that they're questioning this overall change with Mitsuki. And then we actually have Aura, he's stabbing a ghoul, one of the clown ghouls to death, and he's got this crazed look in his eye, and I'm not sure if it's the best thing to get when you have Mitsuki, who's kind of on that level of deranged and sociopathic, telling you to cut deeper, but you're doing a great job. And especially on page 6, where you see Aura's face with his eye, that's a very deranged look where he's like, yes, sir. And it's kind of just makes me feel that Aura's going on that, like, deranged path right now, because we know that, like, whatever happened with Sasaki, going over to the ghoul side now, something happened with him, and I think that had something to do with the special investigator that's related to him, but I'm not sure quite yet. Okay, and also on the same page, this is something I really want to talk about, because this is something that Ishida has been kind of like giving us bits and pieces of Juzo's mentality these past few chapters, and I don't know where Juzo lies right now, because with this panel on page 6, we have a little flashback of Juzo back in part 1 with the white hair, with his overalls, and then the spider web and knives. So, but we have this dialogue with Juzo where he's like, what a disgusting feeling in the hand. And we have this panel of Juzo's hand. And I'm not sure if he's talking about holding knives or whatnot, but this is a parallel to part 1, because his character has changed drastically since the end of part 1. He's gotten a lot calmer, a lot smarter, and because of what happened to Shinohara, his character has grown tremendously. And Juzo is one of my favorite characters throughout this whole thing, and I'm very interested to see what is going to happen with his character, because I don't know, like, what's affecting him, what's making him think and having this mentality, because he seems kind of lost, or like he's within his thoughts, and he doesn't seem like the Juzo we've seen throughout all of Tokyo Ghoul Re. So I'm not sure if this has something to do with Sasaki / Kaneki leaving and becoming the One-Eyed King, and I'm not sure if this has something to do with Furuta, or if Juzo has a suspicion that Furuta is up to something, and Juzo kind of doesn't know what it is yet. So I'm very interested to see what Ishida does with his character, because I would hate it. I would hate this, guys, if Juzo ended up dying. Like, I honestly think I would rage. I don't know if I would rage. He's just one of my favorite characters, and to see one of my favorite characters die, it sucks, and I'm hoping that's not the case. But moving on from that, I honestly think, like, going on to page 7, that Ishida loves Furuta. I think that this is probably one of Ishida's favorite characters, because no matter what panel he draws him in, he's always hilarious, and he's just the biggest troll throughout this whole series. So I honestly think that this is one of Ishida's personal favorites, and I think when he was doing part 1, and if he had this all planned out, I think he couldn't wait to get to Furuta and to start writing for him, because he is just one of the, like, he's one of the best villains that I've been reading, because you can't really read, and he's planned out his moves all throughout this series, and I really can't wait to see where this plan ends up going and what unfolds in the process. But we also have, he's given the V sign with his hands on page 7, but it kind of looks like he's picking his nose in that panel. So he's still going the V stuff. He's playing dumb with the CCG members, and he knows all about Black Goat, and he knows all about the stuff and the V members. He knows about V, and so he's just playing dumb, and he's trying to move the chess pieces into position to where he has the best advantage overall within this situation. And Furuta gives this little play-by-play of like what his plan is with Kaneki's group, V, Clowns, and the CCG. That if Goat is confronting these two sources and going after them, CCG's operatives don't really know who the real enemy is, so when they look at Kaneki, sure, they say them from the Clowns, but they also have these special investigators, the V members from CCG, and they're probably thinking, well, these are probably our allies, so we have to attack Kaneki, or, we have to attack these ghouls that came in and stop the Clowns from slaughtering us. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that unfolds. And so, moving on, we have Kaneki basically giving the slip of these V members. Honestly, we don't even know like which V members there are. They're basically fodder in this case, and they're going after the king. None of these guys are going to give Kaneki a challenge. So watching him, just trying to give these guys the slip. He goes up the building. He thinks he escaped from it, and of course they have hooks. And on page 10, this guy looks like he's doing a helicopter move with his blade, which I think is hilarious. And so they're trying, Kaneki's like, they're persistent. These guys are annoying. Why are these guys following me? Just get them off my back. And he basically gets to the train tracks and gives them the slip. And this is like an old-fashioned movie scene where someone dives off like a high building or something, and they just escape on this train or on like a bridge, and they go and they just escape from their enemies. It's a very cool scene. He's being a boss, and I absolutely love it. And the V members are just like, well, shit. Now what? So after all that whole Kaneki scene with him, escaping V, we get back to Urei and his group. And Donato is talking with Urei as he's on top of the roof with the detached Kagane holding him back. And I really love the design of Donato's Kagane, because it has cross-like patterns, which is just very cool from when he was that alias of the priest. And he's basically taunting and like kind of like asking Urei all these certain questions, and he's trying to plant seeds in Urei's mind to get him to not believe that Sasuke is like this main bad guy, and he's trying to basically delve Urei into these thoughts that aren't really true. And of course, Urei, being the conniving and smart individual that he is, he actually knows what is going on. He knows that the Clowns are operating on their own accord, and that even though he says that Sasuke is, as I'll quote it right here, is just not clever enough to be able to control multiple factions at once. I love that Urei can think that, but come on, this is Kaneki. Kaneki is the one-eyed king. He is the main character, and just the fact that Urei was thinking that is kind of funny, but it's kind of like he's kind of right in a way. It's just that Kaneki's not able to have the CCG operatives and the Clowns and the V organization all delve within this one group and be able to control all the strings. And he knows that there's something else at play, which I really like that Urei isn't able to be fooled that easily. So I really enjoy that. So, he's trying to get Higemaru to leave, and back on page 15, as he's distracting Donato, I really want to know, he's eating, like, these two panels where Donato's eating an eye, is this actually, did he rip out Higemaru's eye? And is he just, eating it right now? That I don't know, because it seems like it's kind of like a flashback, just because it seems like I don't think the mask is able to open its mouth, so I think that might be a flashback, but if that's Higemaru's eye, I'm not sure how he's going to recover from all this, because he's lost limbs, he's lost his eye. I mean, this Higemaru's taken a beating, that's all I gotta say. So, after with all his distracting, Donato hesitates for a little bit, he turns his back on Urei just for a little bit for him to break free of the Kagane restraining him, and he's able to fall down onto Donato. Hige is able to run away, and right now Urei is about to choke out Donato, and he's about to pull, you know, that old the investigator that can choke out all the ghouls with just being a human. And I love the fact that Urei yells out "die," and it looks like Donato's about to kind of like die and get his get choked out. But here we actually know that Donato is just playing with Urei, and he goes back and he starts to remember the name of the investigator that imprisoned him in the first place. His Kagane goes right through Urei's chest, out through his back, and we get the reveal that it was actually Urei's father, Mikito Urei, that was the one that imprisoned him and found him and put him in Cochlea, which I'm kicking myself just because it's so obvious after the reveal that it was Urei's father was the one that put him in Cochlea, just because that what was some other reasons that Donato knew Urei's name and wanted to actually confront Urei, and the only other reason that makes sense, and as it was revealed, was that his father was responsible, and since Donato can't get his revenge on Urei's father since he's dead, the next best thing is to go after Urei himself. And especially with the end tag to this chapter where it says Donato's Terror, I can definitely see Donato torturing Urei, you know, getting back through Urei through Urei to his father in a way, so that way he can kind of like take out all that anger and frustration and all that time that was lost in Cochlea. He's going to take out on Urei, and I think this is what's going to cause Urei to break and actually go past the third frame and eventually, you know, delve on that path of no return to where he's going to become a half ghoul. And if that does happen, it's going to be very interesting to see where his character goes. But that's the end of this chapter. So these are my thoughts on this chapter, guys. I hope that you enjoyed my little analysis and discussion of this chapter. I really can't wait for the next chapter to come out this weekend. So I want to know from you guys, what did you guys think of this chapter in particular? What are your thoughts on there are some future events that are going to be happening? So leave your comments down below, guys, about what you thought about this chapter. And I look forward to Tokyo Ghoul coming out this weekend with the next chapter. So if you want to stay up to date with all Tokyo Ghoul content, subscribe to my channel. And I really can't wait to dive all into this because I really love this series. This series is awesome. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys are having a great day no matter where you are, and I'll talk with you guys later. All right, guys. See ya.